This is a hot topic today. If we discovered aliens, would it disprove God? But what would Lewis say? What's his
Lewis would
response to
say
his
a
book?
loud, resounding no. For him, there's no hesitation on that. And I think that's part of what his reasoning was for writing this series is to say, wait a minute. So many people who are writing this as if, okay, aliens disprove everything we know. And he's like, no, they might actually prove some of the things we know. They might indeed probably would make us rethink some of what we know. And one of his essays talks about the verse where Jesus says, other sheep have I that are not of this fold. And where Jesus is clearly talking about Jews and Gentiles in that passage. But we could apply this same thing to, he may have other sheep who are not of the earthling fold as well, just as the story of the angels is a story of another fold, if you will. So aliens for him would be the story of another fold. One of the reasons that C.S. Lewis wrote Out of the Silent Planet was to engage with H.G. Wells and the Men on the Moon. And so he imagines another planet sort of alongside what H.G. Wells does to say, no, when we come across other lives, they might not be these atheist beings that you're imagining. They might reinforce what we have on Earth, what we think here on Earth already, or at least some of us. In a sense, it felt like a reimagining of H.G. Wells's interplanetary travel kind of stuff. Although his was on the moon, not actually another planet, for
I
those
think
reasons.
sometimes maybe the way people read the Bible can affect it.
Right.
Like, well, it doesn't say anything in the Bible, therefore
Right.
not
Right.
it's not there. It's like, well,
Yeah.
if you
Right.
applied that concept to everything that we even just discover in our world,
Right.
that
Right.
test sort of fails. Of course, we don't
Yeah,
want to
definitely.
believe things that are in complete disharmony with
Right.
Scripture, but
Yeah.
it's I
If
guess
I
a
can
worldview.
pull in Lewis's Narnia series just a second here. In there, he talks when Lucy, this is in Prince Caspian, when Lucy sees him and the others don't, and then she says, sees Aslan and the others do not see him. And then she goes and says, well, what if I would have followed you? And then he says, well, you don't know the story of what would have happened if you only know the story in front of you. And then she also asks about some other story, but he basically tells her, you know your story. There are many other stories. You know yours. That's the one you're responsible to. And so it's kind of, I think that would also play in here. It's like, yeah, we know ours. As we learn more about other stories, we're responsible to them too. But but for now, we're given the story that we're given, and that's what we're responsible
Hmm.
to. Ray Bradbury imagines alien life elsewhere, and kind of also thinks about if God would reveal himself to other places, how would that be? And so he has several stories actually where he does the same thing. And Lewis actually names Ray Bradbury in he has a short essay on science fiction. He names Bradbury as one of those uh, who is not sort of in the field of the atheist scientists who are trying to prove atheism through science fiction. That's kind of what he talked about some of them. But
Yeah. Oh, I it's one of those things where if you have a deep understanding of scripture and theology, then I don't think this
mhm,
question really is a
mhm,
bothersome question at all because
right,
diversity is a part of like the creator. I mean,
right, yeah,
he is
oh yeah,
exploding with creativity. That's why
right,
he's the creator. Uh,
yes, right, mhm,
and so that's never really been a question that's tripped me up. Um,
right,
for me, I wonder if there are other life forms that are intelligent like ours.
mhm,
When will we meet them? Will
right,
we meet
yeah,
them
mhm,
before Christ returns and makes things all new,
right,
or will
yeah,
Christ make things all new and then sort of springboard us out into the universe
yeah,
to meet these
yeah,
unfallen races
right,
who never fell,
right,
uh, or maybe He created them
right,
after the crucifixion, as Lewis
right,
even kind of proposes with Paralandra, that was created
yes, that's right,
after the incarnation, which is
exactly,
a bizarre.
exactly,
Whoa, I've never even had that thought before.
right,
So
right,
a lot of curveballs that Lewis
oh
throws, our
yeah,
own minds can throw. But I think that if I were to speculate that that Christ renews and makes things all new, he brings heaven and earth together, and then
mhm,
he allows us to sort of springboard out into
right,
the renewed cosmos to perhaps
yeah.
meet
Mhm.
our brothers and sisters. Who knows?
Right.
I
Yeah, no, that's good. One of your comments reminded me, Lewis says in one of his essays that evil always happens the same way. but good has so many different ways that it could happen. And I think that's in a sense what he gives us with Malacandra and Paralandra. He's not saying, oh, there's just one possibility of humans not falling. There's different ways that good things could have happened. If we fall, it's always through rebellion against God. And so it's almost like that one rebellion against the way that God has set the universe. It's that one boring way for him of doing evil. It's the same old story. Whereas good can happen in so many different creative ways. And so, and then we have again the diversity of the whole universe. And I think that's interesting that he puts in to his books the idea of the different species of now of what we would think of as human. He puts in different species on the different planets and they get along well, and he's kind of a minority. And I really think of the anti-Semitism that's going around during World
Mm-hmm.
War II, and think of that again. It's like, is he entering the conversation about, that kind of human or that kind of human by talking about now in this way and
Oh, how
saying,
could he
oh,
not when you're watching the
oh
Nazis just
yeah,
plow through everything and trying to dominate others?
oh
It's
yeah,
that's right in
right.
front of him.
Right.
Mhm.
Kristallnacht, by the way, happened the very year he published the first book. So that's when a lot of Europe's first woke up to what Hitler's doing by having all these shopkeepers, Jewish shopkeepers, their places just ransacked by the public, and basically pushing for the public to do that in Germany, and the rest of the world kind of sitting up and saying, what happened here? But he published it that year before Kristallnacht happened, the Out of the Silent Planet. So the others would have been after that. So he'd been very well aware that this conversation was happening and that Jews were being targeted. Whereas before that time period, people probably in Europe, people wouldn't have been as aware of it for sure.